Rain fell slowly over the dark streets of Varel, a city of metal towers and glowing signs where flying ships buzzed above like insects. But deep down below, in the shadowed alleys, no one cared about light or beauty. There, a blind alien girl moved alone. Her name was Lura. She couldn't see the world around her, but she knew it through sound and smell. Her ears were sharp. Her nose was strong. She had learned to walk through broken streets and find trash others had thrown away. Trash was the only thing that gave her coins to eat. Each morning, Lura tied empty bags around her waist and walked barefoot through mud and oil. Her long white hair was tied in a rough knot. Her clothes were torn and her skin was marked with bruises and dust. But she didn't stop. She never stopped. People called her names: Scrap Rat, Broken Eyes, Blind Bug. Some laughed. Some threw things at her. Some just looked away. Lura didn't fight back. She only picked up old wires, broken screens, and rusted metal parts. She couldn't see them, but her fingers knew what had value. In her mind, she had no past, no family, no home. Only the sound of the city. Only the taste of cold food. Only the smell of burning trash. That was her life. Until he saw her. Jack was not from this world. He was human, from Earth. A traveler, an ex-soldier, now just a tired man with a metal arm and old boots. He had landed on Varel to fix his ship and find parts, but what he found instead was a mystery. He was walking through the rain when he saw her, bent down in the mud, trying to pick up a glowing wire. She slipped on the oily ground and hit her hand against a metal pole. Blood ran down her fingers. Jack stopped. Others walked past, but Jack didn't. He walked up to her slowly, pulled out a small healing patch, and knelt beside her. "You're bleeding," he said. Lura froze. No one had ever spoken to her softly. Her blind eyes turned toward the sound. "Don't touch me," she whispered. "I'm not here to hurt you," Jack said calmly.
"Just let me help." He gently placed the patch on her hand.
The wound closed in seconds. Lura sniffed the air. He didn't smell like the others. Not like the guards. Not like the street thugs. He smelled kind. "You're not from here," she said. "Nope," Jack smiled. "And you shouldn't be here either," she laughed bitterly. "I can't see. I don't belong anywhere." Jack looked into her eyes. They were clouded, yes, but not empty. There was something strange about them. Something familiar. He stood up and offered his hand. "What's your name?" he asked. "Lura," she said softly. He helped her up. "I'm Jack." They sat under an old bridge, away from the noise. Jack shared a warm protein bar. Lura had never tasted anything like it. Her face lit up for the first time. "You have tech?" she asked. "A little." He nodded. Jack pulled out a small scanner and aimed it at her eyes. It blinked blue. He frowned. Her eyes were not damaged beyond repair. There was a thick film, like a fog caused by radiation exposure. But the nerves, the structure, they were still good. "You're not fully blind," he whispered. She tilted her head. "What do you mean?" "I mean," he paused. "Maybe you don't need to stay blind. Maybe you just need the right kind of help." Lura's hands shook. "I've been like this since I was a child. They said it was punishment, that I was cursed." Jack's heart grew heavy. "Who told you that?" "The sisters in the junk shelter. They said I was born from sinners." He felt anger rise in his chest. "Lura," he said slowly, "this isn't a curse. Someone did this to you, but I think I can fix it." She looked toward him, hopeful but scared. "Why?" she asked. "Why would you help a blind trash girl?" Jack stood up, metal arm shining under the broken lights. "Because I don't see a trash girl," he said. "I see someone who's still standing, even when the world pushed her down." Lura didn't answer, but for the first time she smiled. That night, Jack sat inside his small ship, holding an old pair of adaptive glasses. He wiped the dust from the lens. He had once built them for a child hurt in war. That child could see again, could Lura? He looked at the screen again. The scan was clear. Her vision could be restored. But he also noticed something strange in the scan. A symbol deep inside her retina. A mark burned into her cells. Not by accident. Not by nature. Someone had done this. On purpose. And whoever it was, they didn't want her to ever see again. Inside his old ship, Jack worked through the night. Wires covered the table, and sparks jumped from his tools. His mechanical arm moved with smooth speed, tightening screws, adjusting lenses, and testing the battery. He wasn't building a weapon. He wasn't fixing his ship. He was building hope, in the form of glasses, not just any glasses. Adaptive optical enhancers, designed to repair radiation-damaged eyes and restore sight in alien species. He had built something similar once years ago during the war. A child had screamed in pain after a bomb flash. Jack had built lenses to save her vision. That child had smiled through tears when she saw her mother again. Now he hoped for the same result. But this time, the stakes felt deeper. Because Laura, she didn't even know what she had lost. The next morning, Jack found her exactly where he expected, sorting trash beside a giant metal bin, her hands moving slowly, carefully. "Laura," he called gently. She turned toward the sound. "Jack?" He walked up and held out a small, smooth box. "I brought something," he said. She reached out with shaking hands and opened it. Inside, the glasses shimmered with faint blue light. "What is it?" "Something that might help you see." She touched them slowly, her fingers tracing the curved edges. I don't know how to wear them," Jack guided her carefully. "Over your ears like this. Rest them on your nose. That's it." The moment the glasses clicked into place, Laura gasped, hard. She dropped to her knees. Her breathing became quick, shallow. Her hands flew to her mouth. Her head turned left, then right, then up, everywhere. She saw the blue sky. She saw the yellow rust on the bins. She saw Jack's face. Tired. Scarred kind. Tears rolled down her cheeks as her lips trembled. "I see," she whispered. Jack knelt beside her. "You see?" She looked at her own hands. "My skin, it's gray-blue. I never knew. Your skin, it's so different." Then her eyes locked on something in the distance. Her smile faded. "What is it?" Jack asked. She pointed slowly, handshaking. "That ship, up there. I've seen it before. In my dreams." In flashes, Jack followed her gaze. A dark cruiser floated in the sky, symbols etched on its hull in glowing gold. A crest, like a royal seal. Laura's voice turned cold. "They were there. The night I lost everything." Jack stood up. "You remember?" "Not clearly. Just pieces. But that ship, it was watching." Jack felt something twist in his chest. This wasn't just a random girl who lived in the trash. This was someone important. And someone powerful didn't want her to remember. Later that day, Jack took her to a high point overlooking the city. The sky was clearer here, and Laura couldn't stop staring at colors. She pointed at every little thing. "Redbird. Glowing roof. Your arm, why is it metal?" Jack chuckled. "Got it shot off in a pirate fight. This one's better anyway." She laughed, then turned serious. "Why are you helping me?" Jack looked at her. "Because someone should have helped you long ago." Laura looked away. "Maybe I wasn't meant to be helped." "Don't say that. I was born blind. I was raised to clean trash. Maybe that's all I am." Jack frowned. "Laura, someone made you blind. That's not fate. That's cruelty. And I think there's a reason they wanted to keep you in the dark." She stayed silent. "Do you want to know the truth?" Jack asked. Laura nodded slowly. "Then we'll find it together." That night, Jack scanned her again with the glasses active. The readings confirmed it. Her memories were unlocking. Flashes of a warm hall, a soft voice singing, a sharp scream, a woman with golden eyes pulling, Laura away, then darkness. A final image stayed in Laura's mind, a silver crown falling to the floor and someone shouting, "Blind her! Hide her!" Jack clenched his fists. "They took you from somewhere and made sure you couldn't return." "But why?" Laura asked. "I don't know yet," Jack said, "but I'm going to find out." He stood, reached for his gear, and pulled out an old datapad. He started scanning nearby networks, looking for old records. What he found froze him. A bounty file. It had her face. Only younger. Healthier. It said, "Subject LVM. Status. Eliminated by order." "No resurrection permitted." Jack stared in disbelief. It didn't say missing. It said eliminated. He turned to Laura. "You were supposed to be dead." Laura took off the glasses, afraid. "They'll find us?" "They'll try," Jack said, gripping his bag, "but they don't know who you are now." "What do you mean?" Jack smiled. They blinded a princess. But they forgot when she sees again she remembers. The glasses felt warm on her face. Laura sat on the rooftop beside Jack staring at the sky. Every star looked like a dream, one she had forgotten long ago. But now something had changed. Not just outside, but inside her. She was seeing more than just lights. She was seeing memories, and some of them hurt. I keep hearing whispers, she said softly. In my head. Jack turned toward her, alert. What kind of whispers? Voices from the past, she whispered. A woman crying. Metal doors slamming. People shouting words I don't understand. Jack opened his old datapad and showed her the bounty file again. Her younger face was still there, smiling in a photo. Next to the words, eliminated by royal order. Laura stared at it for a long time. That's me, she said, her voice flat. Yeah, Jack replied. And they said you were dead. She looked away. Maybe I was, in some way. They left the rooftop and walked through the lower city. Laura wore a scarf and dark glasses to hide her identity. Jack walked beside her, scanning every face, every alley. He wasn't just protecting her, he was searching for answers. They reached a crowded market. Glowing fruits, steaming food, buzzing drones. Laura looked at everything like a child seeing the world for the first time. But Jack noticed something else. People were watching them too closely. He led her into a small repair shop owned by an old alien merchant named Velik. The moment Velik saw Laura's face, his eyes widened. He dropped the tools in his hand, backed away, and whispered, by the stars. She's alive. Jack stepped forward. You recognize her? Velik nodded slowly. I worked at the Mirax Palace. I saw her when she was small. She had that same scar near the ear. And those eyes. The old royal blood had eyes like that. Laura blinked. You knew me. I knew of you. You were hidden from the public. They said the air was unstable, but kind. One day she vanished. And the queen said you died, Jack growled. The queen lied. Velik looked afraid. If they know she's alive, they'll send hunters. Real ones. Let them come, Jack said coldly. But tell me the truth, was Laura really the heir? Velik hesitated. Then he whispered, she was born to the rightful queen. But the throne was taken by her sister, your aunt. She made sure no one would remember you. Laura touched her glasses, trembling. She blinded me. Didn't she? Velik didn't answer. He didn't need to. That night they stayed in an abandoned warehouse. Jack set up security bots at every door. Laura sat on a crate, silent. You okay? He asked. She shook her head. It's like pieces of my mind are falling into place. Like I lived a whole life I don't remember. Until now, Jack sat beside her. That's how trauma works. It buries memories deep. She looked at her hands. I don't feel like a princess. You're not, Jack said. You're something better. You're someone who survived. A small smile crossed her lips. I used to dream, she whispered, that someone would come find me. Someone who would see me, not just touch my hands and throw food. But really, see me? She turned toward him. You're the first person who ever looked at me like I was real. Jack looked away. His throat tightened. You were always real, Laura. They just made you forget. The next morning, Jack hacked into old satellite logs. He found flight records from 15 years ago, the night of the royal purge. A cruiser had left the palace carrying one unregistered life form. Small, young, wounded. The ship had landed in Varel's slums. A message had followed. Subject discarded. Vision permanently removed. Memory suppression complete. He showed it to Laura, her hands clenched. They erased me, she said. Like trash, Jack pointed to the coordinates. We can trace the ship that took you here. Maybe someone from the crew is still alive. Laura stood, determination in her eyes. Let's find them. They traveled across the rust plains in Jack's small hover truck, reaching a scrapyard near the planet's edge. Old ships were buried here, crushed, burned, forgotten, but one still stood dark gray. Damaged wings, royal crest barely visible. Laura stared at it. Her legs shook. This is it, she whispered. I remember hiding under those seats, bleeding. I remember them injecting something into my eyes. They told me I'd forget the stars. Jack gritted his teeth. We need to know who gave that order. They entered the ship. Dust covered everything. Jack found an old droid, dead but data still inside. He downloaded the logs. One file stood out. Delivery confirmed. Subject Lura VM. Ordered by High Queen Marissa. Eyes sealed. Memory agent injected. Trash district drop successful. Laura stared at the screen in silence, then she said one word. Aunt. Jack placed a hand on her shoulder. You don't have to face her. I do, she said. Not for revenge, but for truth. For all the years I was blind. Jack smiled faintly. Then we'll do it together. The twin moons of Virel hung low in the night sky, casting pale silver light across the sleeping city. But down below, in the City of Lights, no one was sleeping. Because the moment Laura's identity was confirmed, someone triggered a signal. The Queen knew, and she had sent her hunters. Jack and Laura sat inside a small diner, its flickering neon sign buzzing over the glass. Laura wore a long hood and gloves to hide her hands. The glasses that helped her see were now disguised with dark lenses, but even with her new sight she felt the weight of every eye around them. They're watching us, she whispered. Jack didn't look up. 3 of them. 1 behind the counter. 2 across the street. They've been following since the scrapyard. Laura's heart pounded. Are they bounty hunters? Jack nodded slowly. And not the cheap kind. She clutched the glass of warm soup. They'll try to take me alive? Jack's eyes hardened. No. The file said eliminated. No second chances. He reached into his coat and tapped the small drone on his shoulder. It blinked and floated out silently, scanning the area. I'll distract them, Jack said. You slip through the back alley. Meet me near the neon tower. No, Laura said firmly. We stay together. Jack raised an eyebrow. You sure? I've been alone long enough. He gave a small nod. All right, princess, don't call me that, she said with a smirk. They exited the diner slowly. Rain began to fall again, light, misty like a whisper from the sky. The city glowed with hundreds of moving signs, tall screens, blinking airships, and crowds of creatures from every world. It was beautiful. But behind the beauty was danger. Jack whispered, On my signal. Run. Suddenly, one of the watchers reached for his belt. Jack kicked over a fruit cart, sending alien oranges flying. Run. Laura dashed into the crowd, her vision sharp, her feet light. Jack followed close behind, using his metal arm to push through the rush. Lasers fired behind them, silent but deadly. One missed Laura's leg by inches. They cut through a narrow alley, breath-hot, hearts racing. Jack pulled open a hidden door behind a trash chute. Inside! They slammed it shut behind them. Silence. Darkness. Only their breathing remained. Laura leaned against the wall. They're fast, Jack nodded. But not smart. He activated his wristpad. Security drones will buy us time. Suddenly, from the darkness, a voice. Laura. She froze. A tall figure stepped forward. Metal mask. Black coat. Eyes glowing faint blue, Laura whispered. I know that voice. The man removed his mask, gray skin. Sharp jaw, a scar on his cheek. Tarek, Laura said, voice trembling. Jack stepped in front of her. Friend or enemy? The man bowed. Once I was her guardian, sworn to protect her blood. But I failed, Laura stared. You disappeared the night I was taken. They forced me to choose, Tarek said. Stay and die, or watch you suffer in silence, and then why are you here now? Tarek reached into his coat and handed her a small silver cube. This holds the truth. The day you were taken. The Queen's order, everything. Jack took the cube and scanned it. Files were real. Royal seals, audio logs, medical data. Even a video of Laura, eyes wide, being dragged through palace halls. Laura's hands shook as she took the cube. Why are you helping me now? She asked. Tarek looked down. Because the stars have turned. The people are beginning to question the Queen. If you show yourself, if they see your face, the spark will turn into fire, Jack asked. So you want her to lead a revolution? Tarek shook his head. No, I want her to live. But her survival will inspire one. Suddenly the wall exploded behind them. Boom! The hunters had found them. Tarek grabbed Laura. Go. I'll hold them off. Jack and Laura ran through a tunnel, smoke and fire behind them. They emerged in an underground transit station. Lights flickered. Sirens blared. Security bots floated in chaos, Jack pointed. Get to the train! Car 7. They jumped aboard just as the door shut. The train sped away into the tunnel. Laura collapsed onto a bench, gasping. Jack sat beside her, scanning her face. You all right? She nodded slowly. I saw his face. Someone I trusted. And now I don't know who to believe. Jack gently held her shoulder. Start with this, he said. Believe in yourself. Laura looked up at the dark tunnel ahead. I was blind for years, she whispered. But I never saw the truth even when I got my sight back. Until now, Jack smiled. You ready to let the galaxy see you? Laura held the silver cube tightly. Yes, she said. It's time they remember what they tried to erase. The train screeched to a stop at an abandoned terminal near the edge of the city. The lights flickered, then died. The doors slid open with a hiss, revealing darkness beyond. Jack stepped out first, scanning the shadows. It's clear, for now, he whispered. Laura followed, holding the small silver cube close to her chest. It wasn't just a memory device. It was a weapon made of truth. Inside it lived files, orders, old footage. And the Queen's voice, cold, cruel, commanding her own niece to be blinded and erased. That voice echoed in Laura's mind. Remove her eyes, erase her presence. No one must know she lived. They moved through the underground levels until they reached an old communications tower, forgotten, overgrown with cables and dust. This place once broadcasted across systems. Now it was silent. Jack pushed open a steel door. This is it. Laura looked up at the dark consoles and empty monitors. No one will listen to me, she said softly. Jack turned on the power. The tower hummed to life. They'll listen, he said, if you show them what they tried to hide. He sat at the main terminal, pulling out the cube. The Queen's orders. The medical scans. The last moments of Laura before her memory was taken. Everything was here. This is enough to break her rule, Jack said, but it has to come from you. Laura stepped forward slowly. Her hands trembled as she touched the mic. I don't know what to say. Say what's true, Jack replied. That's more powerful than any crown. She took a breath. Then another. The feed activated. Live signals reconnected. Across the sector, screens lit up. In homes, in stations, in ships, people paused as an unfamiliar face appeared. An alien girl, young, with a hood pulled back and glowing glasses on her face. She began to speak. My name is Laura Varel Mirax, daughter of Queen Ariel, rightful heir to the Mirax dynasty. Gasps echoed in distant rooms. Some dropped cups. Some froze. Laura continued, voice clear. I was taken as a child, blinded by force, erased from history. My aunt, the current queen, gave the order. Jack tapped the console. The recorded files played one by one. First the Queen's voice. Then the footage of Laura screaming as she was dragged away. Then the injection. The memory wipe. The medical report. Laura spoke again. You watched a lie for years. You were ruled by someone who stole her crown, who punished the innocent, who silenced the helpless. She leaned closer. But I remember now, I see. And I'm not the only one. The entire galaxy seemed to hold its breath. In hidden villages, old nobles cried. In military bases, loyal commanders turned away from their screens in shame. In cities, people whispered, she's alive. The real heir. And in the royal palace, Queen Marissa stood frozen before a giant screen, her wine glass slipping from her hand and shattering. Who activated the old tower? She growled. An advisor stammered. We're tracing the signal, Your Majesty. Her voice turned sharp. Kill it, burn the tower, and bring me that girl's head. Back in the tower, Jack ended the broadcast. Laura's hands dropped to her sides. She was shaking. You did it, Jack said. No, she whispered. We did it. But the celebration didn't last. Outside, Jack's drone beeped. Red light. Incoming threat, ships inbound, he said. Fast ones, how many? Jack checked the screen. Too many. They had maybe 5 minutes. Laura looked around. Is there a way out? There's a cargo shaft, Jack replied, already grabbing his bag. It's narrow, but it leads to the surface. They ran. Boots echoing in metal halls. Alarms ringing. But Laura was no longer afraid. Something had changed inside her. She wasn't the blind trash girl anymore. She was the voice that cracked an empire. They burst out into the night just as dropships began to land. Armed soldiers in black armor spread across the ruins. But they were too late. The girl was gone, and the galaxy had seen her face. Far away, in a hidden chamber beneath the city, Tarek, her old guardian, watched the broadcast with silent pride. He activated an old beacon. The star has risen, he whispered. All across the stars, hidden supporters, old nobles. And silenced soldiers received the message. A forgotten royal had returned, and nothing would ever be the same again. The stars didn't explode, but they might as well have. Lura's face had appeared across half the galaxy, and her voice, clear, calm, and full of pain, had pierced through lies older than many empires. She had told the truth. She had exposed the Queen. And now, the galaxy was reacting. On mining planets where workers toiled without rest, holoscreens blinked to life. Old miners dropped their tools and stared. One whispered, "She's back." In noble halls that once served her mother, old lords gathered in silence. They poured wine not in celebration, but in preparation. In deep prisons where forgotten servants were locked away, old names were spoken again. Lura, the lost one. The rightful one. Jack and Lura sat inside a hidden tunnel deep below the city. A small campfire burned between them, and Jack's drone floated silently above. Lura stared at the flickering flames, still processing everything. "I thought no one would care," she whispered. "That they'd forget me." "They didn't," Jack said. "They were just waiting for someone to speak first." Lura looked at him, eyes glowing behind her glasses. "I didn't ask to lead anything." "No leader does," Jack replied. "They just become one when no one else can." Outside, sirens howled. The Queen's army was searching street by street, but the people weren't helping them. Not this time. In the palace, Queen Marissa paced the floor like a caged beast. "She dares use my family's name," she growled. Her advisor, trembling, said, "We tried jamming the tower, but the signal was already broadcast system-wide. We can't undo it." The Queen slapped him. "You think I care about undoing it? I want her gone." She turned toward a group of tall, silent shadows in dark robes. "Activate the red circle," she commanded. The tallest one nodded slowly. "The girl dies before the next sun rises." Meanwhile, in a quiet village far from the cities, a mother held her daughter close after watching Lura's broadcast. She was blind, the little girl said, but she found her way back. The mother nodded. That's what truth does. It finds its way, even in darkness. Back in the tunnel, Lura checked Jack's datapad. Messages were pouring in. Hundreds, maybe thousands. Some were old names, forgotten house banners pledging loyalty. Others were strangers. Soldiers, farmers, traders saying only one word. "With you." She read one out loud. "You were blind, but now we see." "Tell us what to do," Jack leaned in. "They want leadership." "I don't want power," she said. "You don't have to," he replied. "Just give them a reason to believe." She stood, voice firm. "Then we move. Not away. Forward." They made their way toward the outer rings of the city where old communication satellites had been abandoned. Jack's plan was clear. Boost Lura's message further. Not just to the nearby systems, but to the entire quadrant. A second wave. Before they reached the satellite hub, a signal crackled into Jack's ear. "Jack, this is Tarek. They've activated Red Circle." Jack stopped. Lura asked, "What is that?" Jack's face went cold. "Elite assassins, silent, fast, no trail." "They don't fail." Lura's hand tightened around the cube. "Let them come." Jack turned to her. "We might not survive this." Lura looked at the stars above. "I didn't survive the last time either. I just kept breathing." They reached the satellite relay just before dawn. The city below was glowing gold, but the air carried tension, like a coming storm. Jack set up the device while Lura stood on the rooftop, looking down at the awakening city. Then she heard it. A soft sound. A whisper. She turned. Nothing. Then suddenly, a flash of movement. A shadow stepped from behind a vent. Tall, fast, masked in red. Jack shouted, "Down!" The assassin lunged. Lura dropped just in time, the blade slicing her cloak. Jack fired his pulse pistol, but the shadow rolled, vanishing again. "More incoming!" Jack yelled. Two more red figures landed silently from above. Lura ran behind cover. One assassin raised a weapon, but Jack's drone slammed into it. Exploding in sparks, the rooftop became chaos, flashes of red metal clashing. Wind howling, but in the middle of it all, Lura stood tall. She grabbed the pulse gun. Jack tossed her and fired one clean shot. The assassin dropped, another came. Jack fought him off, but took a cut to the side. Lura screamed, charging forward. She didn't fight with skill, but she fought with heart. She kicked the attacker, grabbed Jack, and pulled him behind the control panel. Blood ran down his arm. "You okay?" she asked. He nodded. "I've had worse." Then he smiled. "You shot that guy. Dead center." "I aimed for his foot," Jack laughed. The Red Circle assassins retreated into the shadows. They hadn't failed. They had underestimated her. And now, the second message went live. Screens across the galaxy blinked once again. This time it was not a speech. It was footage. From the rooftop. The fight. The blood. The determination in Lura's eyes. The people saw her stand tall. Fight back. Refuse to run. The galaxy didn't just see a forgotten heir. They saw a warrior. The city didn't sleep that night. After the second broadcast, after Lura was seen fighting. Not just speaking, everything changed. Graffiti appeared on walls. She sees now. Blind no more. Truth has eyes. And across planets, people who had been quiet for years finally stood up. Because if the forgotten girl could fight for her voice, then maybe they could too. In the ruins of the satellite tower, Jack lay on a metal slab, his side wrapped in clean bandages. He winced as he sat up. "You should rest," Lura said, sitting nearby. "I've rested enough," Jack smirked. "Besides, you need me." She looked at him with tired but shining eyes. "I always did," Jack checked the datapad. "You're trending across 4 systems. Military leaders are questioning the Queen. Civilians are rallying." Lura stared at her hands. "And I don't even know what to do next." Jack stood slowly and walked to her. "You already did it," he said. "You woke them up. Now it's their fight too." But not everyone was celebrating. Far above, on the ice moon of Elix, Queen Marissa stood in a high tower, facing a dark screen. Her generals surrounded her, silent. Unsure, she slammed her hand on the table. "You all failed. You let a child shatter my name." One general stepped forward. "She's not a child anymore. She's what the people want." "Then they'll burn with her," the Queen snapped. She walked to the window, eyes full of rage. "She thinks the people will save her?" She turned, whispering coldly, "Let's see what they do when the sky falls." Back on Varel, Lura and Jack were invited to a secret gathering. It wasn't in a palace. It was in an underground arena, once used for illegal fights, now repurposed as a council chamber. There, over 100 faces turned to her. Aliens, humans, merchants, old soldiers, even pirates. All of them had seen her broadcasts. An old woman stood up. "I served your mother. I watched her burn." A giant lizard man stepped forward. "My family hid your crest in our basement for 16 years. A young alien girl ran to Lura and hugged her legs. "You helped me see," the girl whispered. "Now I'm not scared." Lura's throat tightened. She wasn't wearing royal robes, she wasn't carrying a weapon, but still they stood with her, not because of her blood, but because of her heart. That night she stood on a raised platform and spoke one last time, this time, not to expose lies, but to offer hope. "I was blind," she said, "but I was never weak. They threw me in the dark. But I learned how to feel light again. They said I was forgotten, but I remember now. And if I can rise, so can you." She raised her hand and hundreds raised theirs with her. The Queen launched ships, but she didn't expect what happened next. Her soldiers refused to fire. Her own captain turned and said, "You are no longer my queen." In sector after sector, her control crumbled. She had ruled by fear, but now the people had found something stronger. Belief. Weeks later, in a quiet valley far from cities, a small home stood beside a stream. Inside, Jack cooked something in a pan that smelled a little like burnt fish. Lura sat near the window, now wearing simple clothes. Her glasses rested on the table. She didn't need them anymore. Jack turned and grinned. "Still hate my cooking?" She laughed. "Less than yesterday." He sat across from her. "You know, you could live in a palace now," he said. "They'd build you one." Lura looked out at the trees. "I don't need one," she touched her chest. "I have my memories. I have my eyes. And I have you." Jack looked away, pretending not to blush. "You've changed," he said. Lura smiled. "I didn't change," she replied. "I just finally saw who I was." Later, as the stars appeared above, Lura walked outside. The sky was wide and full of light. She thought of the girl she used to be. Alone, blind, crawling through trash. She closed her eyes and whispered, To the broken, the lost, the hidden, keep walking. Even in darkness, you're never truly blind. One day, someone will see you. And maybe that someone is you. The end.